Hello, everybody. Welcome to the GM Sports Report, your weekly podcast on all things sports where every play counts. I'm Grant, and I'm here with my co-host Mason as we get ready to cover the latest news, headlines, and upcoming events going on in the sports world. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to see all things GM Sports Report. Mason, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Grant. How are you?
Doing pretty good, man. A lot of exciting news going on in the sports world right now, so we're gonna have a lot to talk about. I can't believe we're on episode 7 already. It feels like we just started this
I know.
yesterday, so that's crazy.
Been
Um,
flying.
It has been flying, but we've been having fun, so that's all that matters. We're gonna start out this week's episode with our hot take of the week. This is where we just give our boldest opinion going on in the sports world right now. So, Mason, what is your hottest take right now?
So my hottest take is that the Lions are going to be the clear winners of the NFC, the whole
Mm,
NFC. I don't really see anybody else being able to compete with them, in my opinion. Jared Goff has given out MVP performances week in and week out, and their offense is outscoring opponents this season with a total of over 60 points, 160 rushing yards a game, and only holding their opponents to 80 rushing yards per game. So, and their defense is amazing, even though we'll get into it a little later. But yeah, it's just been crazy.
yeah, their team definitely looks like one of the most complete teams in football right now. So that's a pretty good hot take. My hot take of the week is a pretty hot take. I think you'll like this one. I'm saying that the Dallas Cowboys will finish last in their division with the way they've been playing football. I
Yep.
genuinely believe
Yep.
that the Giants are a better team than the Cowboys this year.
We should have beat them.
Um,
We should have beat them.
yeah, you look at them this year, they just do not look good at all. They're struggling. Dak Prescott's been terrible to start out this season. The offense has looked pretty bad. The defense has looked even worse. They just can't seem to get it going. Just got absolutely blown out at home by the Lions. So I could legit see them finishing in last place in their division this year. So that's my hot take.
Real quick. Do you remember? I think it was episode 1 or 2. You said, "Do you think that Cowboys will finish 12-4 like the past three
I do
seasons?"
remember
And I
that.
said they'll
I
be
do remember
worse.
that.
I said they'll be
Yeah.
worse. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I saw it coming, and just it's unfolding to be true. We'll see how it goes, but
Yeah,
I
you
completely agree
definitely
with
you
that
definitely
hot
saw
take.
that coming. Yep.
Yep.
All right, next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go into our underdogs of the week. This is where we give a little spotlight to someone that normally doesn't get the spotlight. So, Mason, who is your underdog of the week?
My underdog of the week is Cole Kmet with the Chicago Bears.
Mm-hmm.
He had 5 receptions, 70 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And according to PFF Pro Football Focus, Kmet has the lowest drop rate at 1% since 2023 among tight ends with at least 50 targets, as well as his 61.5% contested catch rate ties for sixth best over that same span. So he's underrated very much, I think. And he's just been, doing his thing without the spotlight. So he's just a big body for Caleb Williams to kind of throw it to in that dire need situation.
Yeah, he did a great job on my bench in fantasy. Unfortunately, I did not start him last week, so I'm a little upset about that. But
Yeah.
that's actually a really interesting stat. I did not know that about the
Yeah.
having the best drop percent or lowest drop percentage out of tight ends. That's pretty interesting.
Hmm.
My underdog of the week is someone that I had never heard of going into this week. It's Sean Tucker. I'm sure not a lot of people except Buccaneers fans know who this is. He is the third string running back for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, for those of you who don't know, Rashad White, the running back one for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, was not able to play last week due to an injury. So him and Bucky Irvin came into play, and this guy stepped up. He had 14 carries for 136 yards and had 1 touchdown rushing. And on the receiving end, he had 3 receptions for 56 yards and a touchdown. So a pretty
Mm.
crazy game to have. I don't think he's played at all this whole season, and this was like his first real chance at getting real snaps, and he looked ready for the moment. So very impressive game, and that's my underdog of the week, Sean Tucker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Nice.
All right, so now what we're going to do is head into our news segment. We're going to start in the NFL. What we're going to do, though, is start with our NFL game prediction update. This is where we, every week on TikTok and Instagram, we'll predict every single NFL game. and we keep track of our record throughout the year. It's a fun little thing we do. So make sure you're following the Instagram and TikTok at GM Sports Report. Right now, my record is 59-33, and Mason's is 55-37. So we're pretty close with each other. But listen, this is the kicker. This week, I was 13-1, and you were 12-2. So we were insanely hot on the predictions this week, and we have
Yeah.
been for the past couple weeks. So very interested to see how this goes for the rest of the year.
I'd like to know what just overall what it would be. Well, I'm sure we could do the math, but I don't feel like it right now. What I'm picking the Giants every single week. So I'm sure it would be a lot closer. And I said
Yeah,
in the beginning of that Washington Ravens game that I wanted to change my pick, and that was another one that I got wrong. So
yeah.
I think it, yeah, it's close.
Well, we've both been absolutely dialed the past couple weeks on these picks, so it's been fun.
Yeah.
All right, now, excuse me, heading into the next biggest news in the NFL. It just happened this morning, a couple hours ago. Devontae Adams has been traded to the New York Jets. Does this make them a Super Bowl contender, or what are your thoughts on the trade overall?
So right now, I think Aaron Rodgers kind of has the Jets owner by you know, he kind of looks like he's got him by hostage, and like in
Yeah,
kind of like
right.
a situation like that, just because it seems like he's the one calling the shots. With I think everyone can kind of see that Aaron Rodgers had something to do with the Sala firing because that
Hmm.
was just insane, and everyone kind of speculates that he doesn't really like him. And I saw something, or I think you sent me something earlier today showing that Mike Williams ran the wrong route last night,
Right.
resulting in the game losing pick. So I think that's another thing that just pushed them over the edge. And I'm sure they were even, close to the decision like days prior, but just something like that. And it's just Rodgers has to have it. It seems like he has to have it his way, but I don't think it's really unpredictable to see how it'll go. But I don't think they'll be Super Bowl contenders. They may make the wild card, but that's probably the farthest I'd put them.
Yeah, I also don't think this makes them Super Bowl contenders. I think their problems run so much wider than just needing a wide receiver. I mean, Garrett Wilson's looked
Yes.
great the last 2 weeks, and they still aren't finding a way to get the job done. So, I don't think adding him in just magically makes you a Super Bowl contender. I think their defense is very upsetting for what it was projected to be. It hasn't been good at all, I feel like. It was better last
Right.
night in that Bills game, holding the Bills to only 23 points when we all know the Bills have a more explosive uh, offense. But the run defense has been really weird for me for the Jets because that's what I was expecting to be better. And last night the Bills didn't even have James Cook, their starting running back, and they had Ray Davis come in, and I think he had like
Yeah.
20 carries for 100 something yards, and he
Yeah.
looked like a starting running back that starts every game of his life. So it's just a weird thing going on in New York right now. I think that it'll boost the morale in the locker room after that whole Robert Saleh thing. But
Hmm.
like you said, it just feels weird that like Aaron Rodgers, it feels like every decision that's being made by the Jets isn't made by the GM or the owner. It feels like it's being made by Aaron Rodgers right now, which is just really weird
Right.
to me. Why you would give the keys to a 40-year-old that like you don't know how many years he has left? Why would you like let him call the shots? It gives me like the same vibe as when LeBron first came to the Lakers and he was making like
Hmm.
they call him le GM or whatever. Like it feels like that. It's just a weird situation. I really don't see this making like a huge impact. I do think Devontae Adams will play great for them, but I don't know if that boosts you into a Super Bowl contender, especially in the AFC this year. So
Right.
yeah, that's all I really got to say about that. Next we're gonna do something different. We're gonna talk about what our game of the week was in the previous week. Mason, what was your game last week? Like, what was the best game in your eyes?
In my opinion, I think the best game was Commanders at Ravens. It was just a complete offensive showdown. Lamar Jackson went 20 for 26, 323 yards, and an interception as well as a touchdown. Um, Derrick Henry, who is my favorite right now to win Offensive Player of the Year, had 24 carries, 132 yards, and 2 touchdowns. With Zay Flowers at 9 receptions, 132 yards at half. After that, he didn't get targeted too much. And then on the other side, Washington Jane Daniels went 24 for 35, 269 yards and 2 touchdowns, 0 turnovers. And then Terry McLaurin stepped up. He's been amping up lately throughout this season.
Hmm.
He had 6 receptions, 53 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So it seems like they're kind of getting that connection going. And it was honestly great to see how these two powerhouse offensive, teams are going at it. And it came down a lot closer than I thought it would be. Commanders defense kind of held Ravens a couple times.
So I also had the Ravens versus Commanders as the game of the week, and you also just listed off every stat that I was going to read off.
Yeah,
So I'm just going to
sorry.
have to agree with you there. I think the most important thing, though, for the Ravens fans was the Zay Flowers getting 9 receptions, 132 yards.
Mhm.
That's going to be huge for them because he had been off to a slow start and they're still finding ways to win games. But if you add in him having a big game here and there, that's just going to make your offense even more incredible than it already is. So, yeah, we both agree there. And like I said, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. Everything you
Yeah.
said, I agree with. So, that is also my game of the week. Now, to go into some sadder news, this past week, in the Detroit Lions versus Dallas Cowboys game, probably the best defensive player in football. Aiden Hutchinson went down. It came out that he fractured his tibia and he's most likely out for the year. This is just a devastating loss for the Lions. Mason, what is your overall thoughts on this injury?
It's just I think it's heartbreaking for pretty much all NFL fans. I don't really know of anybody who does not like Aiden Hutchinson. His work ethic. Everyone knew he was going to be a dog coming into the NFL, coming out of Michigan, and I briefly texted with Tommy about it, and he thinks it's like the modern day NFL version of D Rose.
Mm,
And when he said that, I'm like, man, I hope it's not true because like
yeah.
he was easily the best defensive player in the NFL, like, just the years he's been in it, Just the
Hmm.
only person that comes close to him, I think, is TJ Watt, and,
Right.
he's explosive, but Aiden Hutchinson, I think, is the rock of that Lions team, so, um, it's sad, but I think they'll be able to work it out.
Yeah, from a strictly football aspect, I think the Lions will be able to work it out. But just like from Aiden Hutchinson's perspective, just stinks to see because he was by far the best defensive player this year. I think he was leading the league in sacks, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
Just
Yep.
like a great guy, it seems like. It just stinks to see this happen, especially when you're already in like a blowout win and you see,
Right.
your best defensive player go down. That always stinks to see. Something I found interesting is I don't know how true this is. I've seen a couple reports now that the Lions might actually be interested in Max Crosby.
I
Now
did
that
see
could
that
be
as well.
interesting. That could be
Yep.
very interesting in trying to replace Aiden Hutchinson for the season. But obviously, this just stinks to see, and it's not ideal. But I do think overall the Lions will be okay. They still look like I said, one of the most complete teams in football, and like you said, the favorite out of the NFC. So uh, hopefully, Aiden Hutchinson can bounce back and be better than ever. But stinks to see.
Right.
Headed into some more injuries that happened this past week, some of the more notable ones. Marvin Harrison and Chris Olave both had dealt with concussions last week, so they might be out for a little bit in the future. Those are some big losses for both teams. And on Monday, Mike McDaniels confirmed that Tua Tagovailoa will be back and will play again in this season. What are your thoughts on that? Because I know there's a lot of people saying, should he retire? Should he not retire? What are your thoughts?
Um I mean, as long as he's going through the right precautions, and I hope to see him in a Guardian cap, the
Right.
protective headwear. But we'll see. And as long as the professional judgment is that he's okay and good to go, and that he's mentally okay as well, because a lot of concussions can cause some long term damage. So as
Mhm.
long as he's good there, I don't really see too much of a problem with it. Another thing is I kind of have a question for you about it.
Right.
I've seen posts on Twitter saying that Tua's first play back should be a design quarterback run. What are your thoughts on that? To show the league that he's not scared.
Instead of it just being a quarterback design run, I think what really should be the play call if he were to run should be him scrambling and sliding to show that he's learned from his mistakes and he's going to
Oh,
start sliding like a normal QB
there you
would.
go.
No, but all jokes aside, I'm happy to see that he'll be back this year. To be completely honest with you, right after the game was when I was thinking like, oh, maybe he should retire again. But if you're a Dolphins fan, a lot of Dolphins fans saw this a couple days, like within a couple days after it had happened, he seemed like he was like relatively okay. And I almost think that them putting him on the injured reserve list was to just play it safe so that the Dolphins as an organization wouldn't be the team to blame if they'd get hurt again so soon. Because
Right.
he was traveling with the team. He was around the facility. The players kept saying how good he seemed and everything. So I think they were just playing it extra safe. So I'm not as worried as like I'm sure a lot of people are about him coming back. But yeah,
Mhm.
as far as the whole running thing goes, look, just stay in the pocket. I know the O line is bad, but we don't need you running, young fella. And if you do run,
Yeah.
please slide. Do not dive
Slide.
headfirst into a
Yep.
safety again, please. But happy to see Tua back, and I'm looking forward to his return. Hopefully, it's gonna come in week 9, I believe. I believe he has one more week on the injured list, and then he should be back.
Mm.
So excited for that as a Dolphins fan. Happy he'll be back. Okay, that's pretty much all of the big headlines. So what we're gonna do for the last thing in the NFL segment is we're gonna talk about our 3 takeaways for week 6. We do our 3 takeaways every week. So Mason, what are your 3 takeaways?
So my first takeaway is that the Falcons' rushing game was on fire this week. Tyler Algier went 18
Mhm.
carries for 105 yards and a touchdown, and Bijan Robinson had 15 carries, 95 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So
Yeah.
we all seen what Kirk Cousins can do. That other week, what was it, like 500 yards passing
500 something
on
yards,
that?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So if they're that scary in the air and on the ground, I think their offense can be a very big problem, if not already, for um, you know, just defenses in the NFL. Speaking of defenses, my second takeaway is the Steelers defense came to play against the Raiders. And
They
I
did.
know the Raiders are kind of going through a weird spot right now, but they still have their dogs on defense. With Max Crosby and Diablo and all those guys. But TJ Watt, 5 tackles and 2 forced fumbles. Dante Jackson with an interception. Should have had another off a jump screen pass, but he dropped it. But just creating turnovers like that in any kind of game, whether it's close or not, will pretty much solidify a win as long as your offense plays clean. So that was great to see. And my third and final takeaway was the London game. Jaguars drops have shown to be a big problem. Gabe Davis with 2 drop touchdowns, although having scored twice. One of those drop touchdowns was in the same drive of him scoring a touchdown, so that didn't cost as much. And then Brian Thomas Jr. with a wide open touchdown drop on 2nd and 7 on the Bears 16-yard line. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that it was a perfect. I mean, it couldn't have gotten more open on that corner route. Trevor Lawrence surprisingly did a good job getting it where it needed to be, but uh, you know, 21 points on the board through the receiver's hands, it just doesn't look good. Or yeah, I mean, those are my 3
Yeah.
takeaways.
It's pretty good takeaways. I agree with all 3 of them. My first takeaway is that the NFC North is the best division in football this year by a long shot. I mean, as we know,
Yep.
Vikings 5-0, Lions are 4-1. They look like the favorites. Bears are 4-2, and Packers are 4-2. It's just crazy to me that
Yep.
4-2 puts you in last place in this division.
Yeah,
That's
right.
just how good it is. Every team in there looks like legit contenders right now, except maybe the Bears. I want to go as far to say the Bears are legit
Yeah,
contenders. Yet they have looked good, and
they're
Caleb Williams
developing.
sure looks like he's starting to get loose, but I wouldn't say they're favorites or contenders. But the Packers, Vikings, and Lions, I could literally see all 3 of those being favorites towards the end of the season. So
Yes.
just a crazy division this
Yep.
year. My number 2 takeaway is that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense has potential to be one of the best offenses in the NFL if they can just find consistency. They
Mm,
just beat New Orleans 51-27. Baker had
mm,
another crazy game, 24-36 for 325 yards, 4 touchdowns. Now, I will say he did have 3 interceptions, but,
Right.
325 yards and 4 touchdowns, and you come across with a win. That's pretty impressive. As I said
Yep.
earlier, Sean Tucker with a big game, 136 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Now, Chris Godwin had a crazy game, 11 receptions for 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then Bucky
Mm,
Irvin, the other guy stepping in for Rashad White, 14 carries, 81 yards, and a touchdown. So offense, it looks like it's
nice.
clicking. I believe Cade Otton, too, the tight end, had a touchdown as well. Baker's just looks so comfortable with this team. He the offense just clicks. If they can just figure it out to a consistent level and the defense can step up in big moments, because the defense has been shaky for them, they can be like a pretty scary team. And I do think that
Yep.
their offenses is one of the best in football and will be one of the best in football towards the end of the season here. My number 3 takeaway is that when Joe Mixon is healthy, he is a top 5 running back on this Houston Texans team. He came back for the first time after missing a few weeks, had 13 carries for 102 yards and 1 touchdown. And the other week when he was healthy, week 1, he had some crazy game where it was like, I think he had 132 yards
Yeah.
and another touchdown or
Yep.
something like that. He's looked good when he's healthy. Obviously, he got banged up, had that ankle injury, missed a little bit of time, but now that he's fully healthy again, he's a player to watch out for. I think I could 100% see him being in that mix for top running back in the league. Not number 1, obviously, but just in that top 5
Right.
range. I can see it happening. So those are my 3 takeaways.
Yeah. I mean, I
Okay.
agree with all.
Yeah.
Sorry. Uh,
No, you're good.
but in the off season, I was talking about wanting Saquon to be on the Texans the whole time. Just imagine if he was behind that O line. Imagine the
That would be
numbers he'd be
crazy.
putting. I mean, he's still putting up great numbers, but just would be a bit better of a situation for Giants fans.
Right. Right. All right. That's going to do all for our NFL news. So now we're going to segue into the MLB because it is postseason baseball right now. So that means we have to talk about baseball every week. It's the best time of the year for baseball.
Mhm.
The ALCS and NLCS is underway. The NLCS right now is tied at 1-1. The Mets won yesterday. And the ALCS is 1-0 Yankees as they won last night at the time of recording this. I just want to know, Mason, is your World Series prediction the same? Is it different? What is your World Series prediction after seeing these first couple
Ah,
games in the CS series?
so right now, um, I'm just I want to see the people get what they want, or at least the New Yorkers get what they want in a Yankees Mets World Series. I think I think it'd just be electric. It hasn't happened since 2000. I think that was the only time it's happened. But um, just the environment would go crazy, and it would be amazing to see. So that's my prediction. That's what I'd like to see. But it could really go either way. I'd say in the NL, AL, I'd like to say the Yankees are gonna go, but still a lot of games left. So um, I'll say just the Yankees versus Mets. I want to see the New Yorkers get what they want.
It's not just what the New Yorkers want, Mason. It's what American baseball fans want. We want a
Yep,
Subway Series. Am I going as far to predict that? I'm not 100% sure yet. I think the MLB as a company wants Yankees Dodgers. I think they would love to see that
I
Judge
know,
Otani
I
World
know.
Series. As far as my official prediction, though, I don't know if it's just because it's what I want, but I'm gonna also go with the Yankees Mets Subway Series. I just want to see it so bad. Um, I don't like the Dodgers at all, and I was very upset
No,
when the Padres lost to them
I
because the
know.
Padres were one of my favorite teams coming into this postseason, as a lot of people know. So yeah, I'm hoping for a Yankees Mets World Series, and them tying the series yesterday was a big deal for
Oh
me
yeah,
because
it's
I did
very
not want to
big.
see Dodgers go up 2-0. Now another thing I want to talk about is because these are 7 game series now, no series is anywhere close to being over yet. Um,
No.
I want to know, in your opinion, for each team that's remaining, what is the key factor for them to be able to win the series and potentially win the World Series?
Okay, so starting off with the Yankees have to stay hot at bat. Right now,
Right.
it's been just the Giancarlo and Soto show. Surprisingly, Gilly Torres has been doing amazing as well.
He has, yeah.
Um, but doing that, staying hot at bat, and keeping the bullpen fresh. Right now, our rotation has looked phenomenal, but need the starters to come out clean. Luckily, Rodon did that last night, excluding that one home run. I think it was in the sixth. But um, yeah, it's just that's kind of my take on the Yankees right now. It's just they're doing what they're doing well, but just clean it up and make sure the bats are hot. And then for the Guardians, they got to get the bats moving. I know it's just the first game of the ALC or the NLCS. Wait, ALCS. Sorry.
Yeah.
Um, but they gotta stop giving out walks. Last night they gave out free walks to bring in runners. Yankees scored 2 runs from walked runners and off wild pitches. So it's just they got to clean that up. I know they're known for having a pretty good bullpen, but last night didn't really show it. So we'll see if they can pick that up as long as getting their big guys at bat hot. And then Nets, they need to figure out a way to keep their bullpen as well from adding too many runs, staying consistent at bat. Sunday's 9-0 loss, they had 3 total hits and had 3 separate pitchers give up 2 or more runs. So that's kind of hard to win any game, when your bullpen is just kind of giving out runs like that. And then for the Dodgers, they need to be that dominant team that the league portrays them to be. Whether it's pitching or hitting, they need to show up and show out. I don't know too much about Landon Knack, I think his name is, but letting up 5 earned runs in 2 innings during Monday's 7-3 loss against the Mets does not help win baseball games. So,
Right.
and really no hitters can. I mean, you can, but it's not likely to put hitters in that situation to be down 5 and hope for them to kind of come back from that.
All right. Yeah, those are all really good key factors for each team. My key factor for the Yankees, if they want to win a World Series, Aaron Judge needs to be better, just straight up. He's been off to a very slow start, and he can get away with that right now in the AL matchups because the
Yes.
AL is definitely not as strong as the NL. But if you want to win a World Series, he needs to start getting hot here because that's not going to fly in a series against one of these National League teams. He's just going to need to get hot straight up. Yeah. The Guardians, they need to stop with the freebies and sloppy play. You're not going to beat the Yankees if you're walking people and throwing wild pitches and giving them runs. If you give them runs, you're definitely not going to win. You're already at a disadvantage. Let's be real here. You're definitely the underdogs already. And the Yankees can beat you straight up. They can beat you just off of playing good baseball. So giving them freebies and playing sloppy baseball, you're going to get swept if you keep that up. You can't walk people.
Yep.
You definitely can't throw wild pitches that score runs. I think 2 runs scored off of wild pitches. That's just, you can't have that happen, especially in an ALCS game. They need to get that together and tighten up because this is not game 32 of 162. This is game 1 of the American League Championship Series. So they need to eliminate freebies. Next, I'm going to talk about the Dodgers. What they need to do is have their pitching staff stay really hot. Now, before yesterday's game, they put up one of the most impressive stats I've seen as a pitching staff. I don't know if you saw this. They threw 33 straight shutout innings since before yesterday's game. I think the last run they had given up before yesterday's game was in game 3 of the NLDS when Fernando Tatis in the second inning hit a 2-run home run. That was the last time they gave up a run, I'm pretty sure. So that's some pretty impressive stuff. If their pitching staff can keep that up, they'll find their way into the World Series, no problem. But yesterday, Mets showed that they can hit the pitching staff. So that's going to be their key factor for the Dodgers is that the pitching staff continues to throw extremely well. The Mets, you kind of hit on it. I think consistency is key for them. That's with their offense and their bullpen and their pitching. It all needs to be consistent. It seems like every now and then, like something will change. One game they can hit amazing. The next game they're struggling at hitting and they can pitch great. And then the next game their bullpen's not as good. It's just kind of disorganized. They need to find a consistency and maintain that consistency for the rest of the playoffs. So those are my takeaways and key factors for each team remaining. And like we said, we hope it's going to be a Yankees-Mets Subway Series World Series. All right, so next thing we're going to talk about, we're just going to give a quick little update. There's not really news in this league, but the NBA is almost back. We are a week away from today at the time of recording this. So stay tuned for next week's episode as we are going to do a full deep dive on the NBA and do a season preview, what we like to do. And also next week, UFC 308 is happening that weekend, which is Max Holloway versus Ilia Topuria. So be sure to tune into next week's episode. It's going to be very good. Going to be talking a lot of NBA, a lot of UFC. So stay tuned for that. All right. We're going to head into college football like we always like to do. This week, I just want to get your opinion on what was your game of the week in college football this past week.
So I think the biggest game that was advertised and all that was Oregon versus Ohio State, number 2 and 3, and it definitely lived up to the hype. Will Howard 28 for 35, 326 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. Jeremiah Smith 9 receptions, 100 yards and a touchdown, and then Oregon, Dylan Gabriel 23 for 34. 341 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then their running back, Jordan James, had 23 carries, 115 yards and a touchdown. So the offense, was just lights out from both sides. Defense couldn't really catch a break. And, it was just a shootout. And you love to see that in college. But, it was just a very interesting game.
Yes, did look like a good game. I didn't catch that one. The game I did catch that I put as my game of the week was a undefeated Penn State going against USC. That game, I don't know if you saw any of it, was a pretty crazy game. Penn State was down as much as 20-6, and they made a comeback, forced overtime. It was 30-30 going into overtime, and Penn State ended up winning 33-30 to maintain undefeated at 6-0. Drew Allard, the quarterback, threw 30 of 43 for 391 yards, 2 touchdowns. Now, he did have 3 interceptions, though, so that's what was kind of keeping USC alive, getting them a lead. Tyler Warren, the wide receiver 1 for Penn State, had 17 receptions for 224 yards and 1 touchdown. And also another shout out to a player that we both know all too well, Nick Singleton, scored the touchdown late in the fourth quarter to force overtime, and it was a receiving touchdown, believe it or not.
Wow.
I know that's hard for us to believe. So that was my game of the week, and they maintain at a 6-0 record, perfect record. So
oh my gosh,
that was my game of the week.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. So now we're going to head into our third and final segment of the day. We're going to go back into the floor is not yours. We like this segment. This is where we kind of just point out some of the biggest fails in our opinions going on in the sports world from 5 to 1. Mason, what is your list for the floor is not yours?
Okay. So starting at 5 is the New York Giants kicker, Greg Joseph. Watching this game had me very frustrated. We went 4 for 5, I believe, or 4 for 6 on 4th down. So that kind of showed why how Dable didn't have any faith in his kicker. And you kind of can't when you miss 2 field goals that would have tied the game as well as put you on top of the Bengals, who have a great offense, and you can't give them any free drives. So he's my 5. And then number 4 is Rick Brunson and the Knicks bench. Rick Brunson is Jalen Brunson's dad. So I don't know if I'm sure a lot of people have seen who keep up with the NBA, but they were talking trash to 2 players that New York absolutely loves, so Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo, and talking trash while Dante was at the free throw as well as after the game. I don't know really who it was, but one of our staff members went up to Julius Randle and was kind of sizing him up. It looked like it was like fighting actions. And it's like, man, what are you doing, man? We love these guys. And it just kind of sucks to see. So they're my 4. And number 3, you kind of hit on it, was Aaron Judge. It pains me to do it, having to put all these New York people up here. But, man, 2 for 13 in postseason, having 154 batting average. He's easily my favorite player in the MLB right now, but you can't deny how bad he's been this postseason. And, I really have hope that he's going to pick it up, but hopefully it's in this series, but we need him for, World Series, hopefully, if we get in. And number 2 is everyone's favorite coach, Dan Campbell, for leaving in Aiden Hutchinson and most of the starters during garbage time. I know he's the gritty, bite the kneecaps kind of coach, but man, you got to know when to pull some players. There is no reason you should be having your guys in at 47-9, and like just what happened to Hutch is like a prime example of why you take him out. And
Mm.
number one is, he seems like he's on here every week, is Will Levis. For being absolutely atrocious at organized and any kind of football, and for not checking on the ball boy after tearing his ACL running into him on the sideline. Like, come on, man! Like
So
this,
bad.
like dude wants to just be on the sideline, helping out the team, helping out the NFL, being a ball boy, and you just tear his ACL, get up and walk away. Like, that's why you have 699 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. Like, it's
Yeah.
it's annoying to see
Yeah,
that,
that man's on a
but
generational run as far as creating memes for the NFL.
I know we've all seen the clips, yeah. So
Yeah,
that's my 5 through 1. But yeah.
I like it. Number 5, I have one of your topics. I just have the Knicks backstabbing Dante DiVincenzo by trading him
Yeah,
1
man.
year into the 4-year contract that he signed.
Gosh.
Just unbelievable. It just rubs me the wrong way when after that preseason game, seeing them like all bicker with each other, because it's like, man, I feel like this
I
guy wanted to
know.
finish his career in New York. I really do, and
I
you can
know.
tell. Like I almost feel bad for DiVincenzo. You can tell that man just feels like a betrayed, backstabbed friend right now. So yeah, that's my number 5. New York Knicks, you got to do better. I get what you had to do, what you had to do to get Carl Anthony Towns, but that just it hurt me to see DiVincenzo all
I know
upset the
it.
other
I
night.
know.
And I bet as a New York fan, it definitely made you upset. So
It did, it
that's my
did.
number 5. Number 4, I have the NFL giving the 1-5 Jaguars 2 straight weeks in London. I just feel
Yeah.
so bad for these London fans right now. Imagine you live in London and you don't get to see NFL football too often. You got to watch 2 straight weeks of Jacksonville Jaguars football. That is just brutal. NFL, you got to get some better teams out there and let these fans experience some good football instead of watching 5 drop touchdown passes. At this
Oh,
point, you
god.
might as well let the Jaguars just stay out in London and make them like a different type of football team and a soccer team. Uh, that's my
Oh,
take on
gosh.
that. Why are we giving them 2 straight weeks of international play? I have no idea. I feel bad for those fans that don't get to watch NFL often. Number 3, it pains me to say this was my team riding into the MLB postseason, the San Diego Padres. Now, they did not score a single run for the last 24 innings of the NLDS. That is just absolutely insane, especially after all the trash talking you were doing. Uh,
Yeah.
Everyone's making the meme about how after Tatis was mocking the fans and stuff, he completely slowed down, and the whole offense as a whole. I mean, how do you go 24 scoreless innings in the NLDS? So that deserves to be on the floor, is not yours, in my opinion. Now, number 2, I have the Cowboys getting blown out so bad at home that I don't know if you saw this. They
I
blurred out
did.
the
I
score
saw it.
on the
Yep.
Jumbotron so fans couldn't see the
Yep.
score. That is just diabolical. I've never heard of anything like that in my life. The fact that you are blurring out the score because it is that bad of a blowout is just crazy to me. Cowboys fans, we gotta check in on Matt. I'm sure he's down bad right now. That is easily
He's
number
got
2 on my
yeah.
list because, man, that is just crazy that you're blurring out the score on the scoreboard at home on Jerry Jones' birthday, I'm pretty sure. And I got something to say about Jerry Jones real quick too. He keeps talking about
Mm.
how I don't understand how we're not playing better. You didn't get the job done last offseason. You make 0 changes and you lose Tony Pollard. How do you expect to be better this year? That's what I want to know. Anyways, that's a whole different rant for another day. Number 1, you're going to like this. This guy to me is like the Will Levis of coaches. At number 1, I have Nick Sirianni
Yes.
mouthing off at his own fan base after barely beating Cleveland, who's a
Come
terrible team,
on.
after Philly fans were chanting to fire him. This guy just
Come on.
has the least aura out of any NFL coach I have ever seen. Why is he mouthing off like a player all the time? That's what I really want to know. Like,
Mhm.
bro, you are a head coach, and the fact that you have to mouth off at your own fan base after barely scraping out a win against the Cleveland Browns, that's just embarrassing to me. And I do not, for the life of me, understand how this guy is not on a hot seat right now and how he is
Yeah.
not packing his bags and going to Cancun, and they're trying to find a different coach right now. He is the Will Levis of coaches, if I must say. So that's my number
Mhm.
1. I know I'm going to let you speak on that because I know you probably agree with me.
No, I mean, I love it. Like, he has, like, yeah, he won a, NFC championship, but, like, he hasn't done anything else really, and the only time you really see him in any kind of headline is when something negative is going on,
Right.
whether it's always got to do something with the fans too. Because I
Right.
don't know if you remember,
Exactly.
I think it was the Super Bowl where he was walking into the tunnel and he was like, "Oh, I don't hear you all anymore" or something,
Yeah.
and then he lost
Yep.
the game. And then the
Hmm.
other one was this one, and then the Giants one where it's like, "Oh, got your best player." He was talking to a fan when he said that, and
Right.
it's like, dude, just stay in your lane, dude. You're a coach. You're not a
He's not a
public.
player.
Yeah, I know. Just stay in your lane. But
Yeah.
I can't stand them. I can't stand anything Philly. And for those who are interested, Grant and I are going to the Giants
I was
Philly
just about to
game
say that.
this upcoming Sunday. So hopefully the Giants can get it done. But if not, we'll have a great time in New York and we'll make sure to get that kind of vlog up, something like that for you. But yeah.
Yeah. So just to touch on that, be looking forward to a couple big things coming up. As he said, we're going to be attending the New York and Philadelphia game. We're going to try to get some interviews with fans. We're going to try to get a
Hmm.
vlog together for you guys. So make sure you're following the Instagram and TikTok at GM Sports Report, all lowercase. We post a lot of stuff on there, a lot of good bits and stuff that we do, vlogs. We're going to try to get interviews, like I just said. We're going to try to do
Hmm.
some new things here and there. We post our NFL picks on there. So make sure you're following that at GM Sports Report, TikTok and Instagram. A lot of cool stuff that's going to be coming there this weekend as we go to New York. So going to be my first time in New York, so I'm excited to go.
Hmm.
Also next week, make sure you tune in. We're going to have a big NBA preview, like I said, and UFC 308 breakdown. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up this episode, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode of the GM Sports Report, where every play counts. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to be able to see our weekly episodes on All Things Sports Report. For additional content, check the description to see links to our Instagram and TikTok account. This is Grant and Mason signing off for now. Have a great week, everybody.
Thank you guys.